Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brothers Take podcast. My name is Kris. I am joined by my brother Eric,
Hello.
and we don't have Adam this week. He's under the weather, so we won't have him this week. We hope he gets better soon, and we'll have him back on. But myself and Eric went to see Joker Folie à Deux. Is that how it's pronounced? Or
Yeah, well, you did more French than me, so I'd assume.
or Joker 2, as a lot of people are just calling it. And it has received a lot of very strong reactions from people. So we're going to be talking about the movie and sharing our thoughts on it, our take on Joker Folie à Deux. And we'd love to hear from other people too. So just to preface this, we're going to do non-spoiler thoughts first because we know that the movie is kind of just recently out. Not everyone has probably gone out to see it yet. And maybe you just want to like gauge the waters as to what do other people think of the movie. Is it kind of lining up with what everyone else is saying about it? Or is there some different opinions going on? And then we will get into our spoiler-filled thoughts on why we feel the way we feel. But we will give fair warning. So if at that point you're someone who has seen it, and you're like, I want to hear the nitty-gritty of why they're saying what they're saying, then we'll get into that. However, if you're someone that maybe hasn't seen it yet, then we'll give you a fair warning to kind of jump off. And you can always come back then, use the timestamps in the description to jump to the spoiler discussion, that kind of thing. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to do. As always, we want to hear your thoughts as well, whether you've seen the movie or just your thoughts on what we bring up in this week's episode. If you watch this YouTube, jump down to the comments to share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this episode, please do give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take again to give your take on Joker Folie à Deux. But without further ado, here we go. Eric, why are we even talking about this as a podcast that's primarily a gaming podcast, but from time to time we talk movies and TV shows and music as well, and we've been doing it more and more, I think. But like, why would we even talk about this movie?
We only go to see things that kind of pique our interest. So we saw the first Joker, and I think it left an impact on us that we're like, right, we need to see the second one. We need to see what story is he going to tell.
And it was a movie that none of us wanted, and then and then we're like incredibly pleasantly surprised by it.
That's because it was handled. I think that's because when that was announced, we may have already had the first like Venom movie. So
Sure.
we were a bit in the element of, oh no, are they going to do like Joker's the hero? Because we know from being fans of the Batman material, Joker can never be the hero. It's just not within his character. So then I suppose when we watched it, we were like, no, this is quite respectful of the material, I suppose.
Yeah, and a much more interesting and introspective and darker movie than we were expecting, just because, yeah, like you said, we were probably expecting, initially when they just announced it, I think we probably were expecting something more along the lines of Venom, where it would be a very tongue-in-cheek, kind of cheesy, popcorn kind of movie,
Yeah.
where Joker is the protagonist of the movie, and that's not what it was at all. So, with that being said, we really liked the first movie. Not everyone did. It was a controversial movie. There was a lot of talk afterwards of should they even be showing it in cinemas? What's the responsibility of the filmmakers? Is it glorifying violence in some way? And I think we understood that it wasn't. And yes, it is like it's got controversial topics and stuff, but like it was in no way saying this is how we should behave. Like it wasn't saying that at all, I don't think.
No, no. I think the first one, the message really of it was this can be what happens when these people are abandoned by the resources that they need. So I think
Right.
with the first movie, he had a message to tell, and he used Gotham and the character of the Joker to tell that story.
Yeah, and it didn't necessarily like.
It
I think
doesn't glorify it. It's like
No.
he's a troubled person
Yeah,
in the first movie.
I think the director as well has openly said that the first movie is only Joker to get people to go and see it. I think he was pretty open about that. Like he wanted to make a movie about a character. He basically wanted to do his take on, say, Taxi Driver or King of
Right, yeah.
Comedy, these Martin Scorsese kind of films about an individual who has a very troubled life that nobody is helping and kind of spirals out of control. And he knew that people won't go see those kind of movies nowadays. But if it was called, if it was an IP, like,
Yes.
and then it became a happy marriage that it kind of worked with the character of Joker. It kind of worked with that material. So I think what I've seen online a lot of this second movie, right? I've even seen it in the comment section. When someone says, I love the first movie,
Okay.
it is then followed by, I hate the second movie.
Okay.
Okay? That seems to be the consensus that's going on online in the discourse from all the movie reviewers that I would see on YouTube. Eric, did you hate Joker Folie Deux in a non-spoiler way?
I did not hate it,
Oh,
but I think you loved it more than me. I was honestly like coming onto this, I was thinking to myself, what am I going to talk about? Because I kind of came out and went, okay, that's that movie now.
mm,
I was left a little sort of. I don't think there's as much of a deep dive you can do with this movie as much as the first one. Or maybe it's just that more kind of subtle that I just missed it or something like that.
right.
But I think the first one, there's like really, I can see that being a case study more so than this second one. But
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean I hated it. I just think the first one just felt more like Todd Phillips had a story to tell. And yes, as he stated, he used the Joker to tell it. This one feels a little bit more like Warner Bros. Went, hey, we got a lot of money from that movie. Make us another one. And he was like, okay, I don't really have anything to say here, but here I go.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt with it. I thought it was all really well done and well acted, and
Mm-hmm.
sets and costumes and lighting and everything was very well done. I think it was well shot and everything, but I just don't think it's as impactful. Kind of when the movie was over, I was like, okay, that's that then.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I didn't love the movie. I liked the movie. I liked it.
Mm.
But that's the total opposite of what I'm hearing from everyone else. You know, I was like, I basically my reaction was, and maybe it helped that I saw such negative reactions and reviews and things. Because
Maybe.
my reaction to it when it finished was, what's the problem? Like, it's not that bad. Like, it's
No,
certainly not as good as the first movie. And
no,
the first movie could have just been left alone. And
yes,
it's
absolutely.
like a perfect movie. It didn't need a sequel. And I think everyone could agree with that. I think even the
Mm.
director could probably agree with that. And it
Yes,
doesn't
probably.
necessarily need a sequel. But it got a sequel. And the sequel is not as good, not as interesting, but I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought it was fine. I wasn't really bored watching it. Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? I think it was a much easier watch than the first one because the first one is so psychologically harrowing.
Mm.
This one is definitely a much easier watch.
That's so interesting because um like so we went with our dad and my wife, right?
Yeah.
And she said the same thing as you. She said she found it a much lighter watch, an easier watch than the first one.
Hmm.
The first one was very heavy, very dark, no light, no let up for this guy at all. Found this
No.
one a lot lighter, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think that was? Like, was it the musical elements?" Which isn't a spoiler. I think at this point people should know. People should
People
know
should
going
know.
in, because if you don't know that, that's probably going to fucking blindside you. It is like a jukebox musical in a similar way to like Moulin Rouge, where they sing songs they didn't write songs for it. They're already known songs.
Right.
So there is
I
it.
did not know that. I know some of the songs were known. I thought some of them were.
No, I think they're all already like
All right. Okay. Fair.
existing songs. So it's more like a take on songs rather than like it's not like a Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of musical or anything like that.
Man, you just
Um,
threw out words and I haven't a clue what you just said.
like okay, so it is not
It's
like
not Annie. Is that what you mean? It's not Annie
it's
or
not
Matilda
Annie,
or Wicked.
it's not Les Miserables. Like you're not gonna look
Yeah, yeah.
up the soundtrack to Joker Folie à Deux and listen to that alone, and then there'll be stage productions of it or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah.
Very
Oh, that'd be
unlikely.
that. Imagine there was a stage production of Folie à Deux.
You could do it. It kind
Probably
of
could.
felt like a theater piece more than a movie.
Right, yeah, yeah. The sets were a bit more contained, I suppose.
Very much so. Very much so. But I'll say so. What I would say was yeah. Ash found it a lot lighter, just like you did.
Mm.
Dad found it heavier. He told me.
Really?
Yeah. He said he found this one heavier than the first one. So I find that really fascinating, and I wonder from other people watching it, what do they think? And is that a generational thing? Is that a topic based thing? Like, does it depend on what? Because like, so again, in like non-spoiler fashion, like I think like the first one you compare it to these Martin Scorsese films, like yeah, like Taxi Driver, like King of Comedy, very clearly that's the inspiration. This one is a bit more of a mishmash of different things. There's an element of what's that courtroom drama movie with Jack Nicholson?
A Few
He
Good
says
Men.
a few. There's an element of A Few Good Men going on in this, right?
Right.
There's an element of The Green Mile, I would say, going on in this, or maybe elements of Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
And then there's also an element of La La Land. Like it's kind of a
I
mishmash of
actually,
things.
when it comes to Arthur Fleck and his kind of thing in the courtroom, it reminded me a bit of Ted Bundy.
Oh, sure, okay.
Because he was an absolute fucking psychopath. Probably honestly worse than Arthur Fleck, because but he had a bit of a showmanship. I think he represented himself.
Okay.
He put on a bit of a show, and there was people like falling in love with him.
Okay. So
So
there might
I
be a bit
did-
of inspiration there too.
Yeah, because he had now Joker, Arthur Fleck, Joaquin Phoenix's character. He only I think he represents himself.
Careful now.
During the movie. Yeah, true. But anyway, he has Harley Quinn's character, Lady Gaga, falls in
Mhm.
love with him.
Yeah.
Which actually she was fucking great in it.
Yeah, I liked getting another take on Harley. The only one we've had so far is obviously Margot Robbie, who was excellent in the role, but we've only ever had like in the live action space in like on the big screen, we've only had like a post Joker Harley. We've never had the Harley who actually has a relationship with Joker on the big screen. So that I was really excited about that. That was one of like the big things I was looking forward to going into it. I think I would have liked a little bit more of that, but I did like their chemistry together. I thought they were very good. Ultimately, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I like just to get up the Rotten Tomato score at the moment, right?
I think I looked at Metacritic this morning. I was actually looking for something else. But yeah, no, I saw that it's mixed reviews or something for Joker 2. It's like 57 or something like that on Metacritic.
Well, now this is at time of recording, and this might change. Joker Folie à Deux at the moment has the same critic score as it does audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, that's
right?
one of the first times we've ever said that on the show.
they all agree, and that is 33%.
What the fuck?
That's what I'm saying. Like people hate this movie, and what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that while it is in
We're
no
the
way,
minority.
while it is in no way as good as the first movie, I do feel like I came out and said, did I watch a different movie to everyone else? Because I was engaged, gripped. I thought the performances were excellent. I thought the music generally was, as in the actual film score, was good. I thought the sets were fantastic. The way it was shot, the cinematography, like I thought all that stuff was solid. The movie is an epilogue, ultimately, to the first movie, and maybe doesn't feel like as big a sequel, and certainly does not go where people wanted a sequel to Joker to go.
Right.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
is what I gather. And then I have heard people's one of the criticisms as well of being like the musical numbers are more like interruptions in the story every time they happen. They just like they stop the story dead and just they just happen to feel like interjections. And I do get that. I actually do get why people would dislike the movie. But and I'll explain it more when we go into the spoilers. I have a counterpoint of why that worked for me, but I also understand why it wouldn't work for others. So I'll leave it at that for now. But um, I suppose any kind of final overarching thoughts, non-spoiler about Joker Folie Do, or people, it's something that you'd like people to know who maybe haven't seen it yet before we get into our spoiler-filled thoughts as to why we maybe didn't feel as strongly negative about the movie.
Well, no, I think you did cover. I mean, it is a well-made movie. It's a sincere movie, as in the people in that world believe what they're doing and what they're saying. There's nothing about this whole situation that is ridiculous to the people living in the world. So you
Mm,
can get sucked in and you can believe the world as much as they can. Because we do have quite a lot of movies kind of nowadays. Well, probably not as much nowadays. I don't know. We actually don't go to the cinema that much. But there was definitely quite an era where people almost had to like the characters almost had to joke about the IPs that they were dealing with,
right.
where there wasn't an element that they could believe this world,
Hmm.
which for me didn't work. But then so then we have this movie where and there are other movies, Dune and Dune 2, they do the same where it's they believe the world they're in, so you can believe the world, and then you can just go on this journey with these characters.
Yeah.
So that could be another reason to why we like it, and another reason to why we're bringing up and talking about it. You know what I mean? Because it is a well made movie, just not as I just don't think it has a point to tell the same way the first one does. So I don't think the first one's as analytical, which is probably why we prefer the first one to the second one.
Yeah, and I think objectively the first one's a better movie.
Mm.
Under pretty much every merit. You know. But in saying that, I don't know if this one is a 33% kind of movie.
No,
Like that's
no, no,
very,
no.
very low. I'm
I
surprised how many people dislike it that strongly.
I'm really starting to get the vibe. The more we keep looking at things like Rotten Tomatoes and everything, I
Mm,
think I think the Brothers' Take is really in the minority of what we like.
right. Yeah. I'm curious as well, like I have no idea. This is one of those ones where it's like it's kind of a shame Adam wasn't well and all this because I have no idea if he would like or hate this movie.
Well, he is like a Russian roulette. You know what I
You
mean?
just have no clue.
No clue with him. It's interesting.
I'll tell you why the Rotten Tomato score shocks me so much, I guess, right? Or the critical reception
Mm,
to it shocks me so much. There's an element of this, and I'll go into further detail when we're talking full spoilers, which we'll do very soon.
yes.
There's an element of this movie that kind of reminded me going in of the Matrix Resurrections. Okay? I can't fully
Oh,
go into
that was the
why.
newest one. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for
Yes.
reminding me of that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Now, the Matrix Resurrections also has an equal score from the audience and critics
What is it like?
on Rotten
Fucking
Tomatoes.
78 or something?
63%. And
That's 30% higher.
I just have to say, I think Joker Folie à Deux is a better movie than The Matrix Resurrections. That's how I gotta rank this. It is not as good as Joker 1. Nowhere near as good as Joker 1. But it is a better movie than The Matrix Resurrections. That's my kind of ranking meter there. Do you see what I mean though? Like to me, like people hate this movie. Like beyond just like, oh, I didn't like it. Like they hate it.
And the worst part about it, right, is is that it's not like it's 1%. So you can't even say, oh, it's being review bombed. Because
No,
first of all, First of all,
Yeah.
it's too early to say it's been review bombed.
No, I think people are being honest. I don't think I think that is actually how they feel.
That's that fair enough. Maybe, yeah, maybe they just went in with a different movie expectation concept, and it just because it didn't meet that, it disappointed them. You
Yeah,
know
and
what I mean?
well, and I do think, to be fair, I do think the movie is bold and is divisive, and I think
Yeah,
even the director probably knew not everyone's going to like this movie. It's not. I'm not making the movie that people probably want to see of a Joker 2,
yeah, that's fair.
because the director and the writers or whoever are clearly more interested in the character of Arthur than they are in the character of the Joker,
Hmm.
which is a huge point of the movie, actually. So, with that being said, I think we should start getting into our spoiler filled thoughts on the movie. Um, so, spoiler warning going forward, guys, but for those of you who are maybe going to like check out now because you're like, I've heard the non spoiler part, that is to say, we're saying most people hate this movie. You might too. You probably will, but we kind of liked it. So maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe you're in the minority who'll be like, it wasn't that bad. I don't. It was good. Like it's not a I have to buy it on Blu-ray good, or I have to
Hmm.
rush back out to the cinema and see it good. But it also wasn't a I can't believe I wasted my money kind of thing. Like I was happy I saw it.
Hmm.
I had a good time. So that's kind of what I can say about that. Right. Let's get into the spoilers then.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what I was trying to say about the whole Matrix Resurrections thing, or why it kind of reminded me of it a little bit, but I think this is executed way better. Like the
Right.
performances are better, it's shot better, it's just a better made movie than The Matrix Resurrections. Um they're kind of both meta, but this one is less, like it is pretty obvious, but it's a little less obvious about it. So Matrix Resurrections on it. Remember when we made the Matrix, right? And like literally inserted scenes from the previous movies and was so blatant about its fourth wall breaking that it was actually annoying. Like it wasn't. It was tried to be clever and then it was not clever at all. It was like meta for dummies kind of thing. Like it was.
Hmm.
This movie is holding the first movie on trial, right? Like this
Right.
movie is about deconstructing the first movie,
Right.
basically. But it's less like remember the first movie, even though in it there's characters saying, "Oh, I saw the TV movie about you," and like there's things like that going on in it, and like they're literally calling back all the characters to the first movie to relive their trauma of the first movie, and to determine whether Arthur is Arthur or is he the Joker. And that's
Hmm.
actually what the whole movie is about, basically. Which is why it opens with that weird Warner Brothers animation thing of Joker
That
fighting his shadow.
yeah, I'd say that
That'll put
may-
people off
I
very
say that
quickly
put people off pretty quickly too.
for the
Like,
whole
what the
movie.
fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, so yeah, so for me, it is an epilogue because it's not like, oh, we take place 2 years later and there's a whole new kind of story or anything.
Hmm.
It's really just the aftermath of the events of Joker 1,
Hmm.
kind of prolonged
Yeah. It's
over
a
like
2 hour, 18-minute epilogue of the first one.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you get that sense of like they're trying to deconstruct the first movie a little bit, or they're almost like critiquing the first movie?
No, I didn't get that sense.
Okay.
I actually got the sense of, oh, so it happened.
Right. It
Because,
clarified some things.
well, because in the first movie, at the end of it,
Yeah.
it kind of it leaves that interpretation of did any of that happen? Again, if we go back to the clock is the same time, I think, throughout the entire movie of the
Yeah.
first one. So
Yeah.
it left people to go, is there a possibility that was all in his head and to him that was one sick joke? And that's
Right.
why he goes, you wouldn't get it. And actually, the hospital he's in at the end of the first one is completely different to the hospital he's in the second movie.
Yeah.
So for me, this second movie kind of made me go, what's up at the end of the first one then?
are we convinced everything that happens in this movie happens? Obviously,
Well, not the musical
obviously
elements.
not the musical elements. They're very clear when that's fantasy and when it's not. But
Hmm.
um, like the scene where Harley is in his cell, but he's in solitary confinement, and she just says the guards let her in. I was like, I don't buy that at all. There's no way she's there. That's not happening.
But then she later on, doesn't she say that she's pregnant?
I don't think she was.
Oh no, I don't think she was pregnant.
No, I don't think she is at all.
But
But for him to buy it, he would have to feel like he had that interaction with her, right?
yes.
I know what you mean. There's some stuff in it where I'm like, I still think there's things happening in this movie that aren't really happening.
Hmm.
Like
Well, I mean, definitely the musical elements, but
definitely the music elements. Oh yeah, so this is why and I completely understand why for some people it would like feel like an interruption or throw them off, right? So this is more like a me personal thing. So musicals in general, I don't generally enjoy musicals. I think they're very well made, and I can appreciate the artistry that goes into a musical. But when I sit and watch a musical, every time they all start singing and dancing, it takes me out, even though that's the point of a musical. Like that's the
mm.
bit everyone's waiting for. It'd be there, go and see a kung fu movie, and every time they start kung fu fighting, you go, "Oh, what the hell? Like, what? Come on! Oh, they just know kung fu, right?" It'd be like that. So I acknowledge that it's a bit of a paradox, but I can't help it. I have this sensation that anytime in a musical, everyone starts singing and dancing. I'm like, "Oh, what? Everyone just knew the song, and everyone just starts dancing. Like, this is insane. They're acting like insane people." That's usually my reaction. So when I saw Joker Folie do and they start doing that, but it's only the fucking insane people doing it, I'm like, that's bang on how I feel about musicals. It's like, I was like, yeah, all the guards are looking like going, these guys are fucking crazy. Like it's a fucking total delusion that they would in any way get up and start singing and dancing and all. Um, so yeah, like the fact that the musical numbers were always delusions, basically
Mm.
worked for me in the sense that I was like, it captures how I feel about musicals anyway. But that's definitely I am a minority there. So I totally get it if people are like, I hated the fucking musical numbers or whatever. How did you feel about the musical element?
I knew they were in it.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, there's the musical bit now.
yeah,
I don't know what the fuck they're singing about. I don't know what the implication. Again, I feel like I should watch this again. I maybe this movie is a little deeper than I am taking it for, but I was just like, I think I slightly zoned out every time they did a musical number. I
yeah.
just
That's
wasn't
fair.
listening to them. Like
Yeah,
I'm assuming the words to the songs that they chose is very deliberate and it very much suits the mood they're in, the what they're thinking and feeling.
mm.
But again, I zoned out, so I'm not getting that. So I'm just like, all right, okay, bright colors and lights, and all right, just singing.
Yeah. I thought the sets were cool. Like the whole
Oh, like it
Hotel
was,
Arkham in the background and that kind
it
of
was
stuff was
very,
really
it was,
cool.
yeah, it was all very good, very. That was very La La Land, actually. That
Yeah,
definitely
it's
felt it.
like there's clear inspiration there.
Yeah. That very much reminded me, and I like the bit where there's two bits actually in two different musical numbers. But I was like, that's quite cool. Uh, I think the first one was after his lawyer or counselor tells him that Harley's only playing him and that she's lying the whole time.
Oh
And then
yeah.
he has that bit when they're singing about loving each other, well, loving him, but he says it to her and she says it to the crowd, and then there's that little interaction.
Yeah, where
But
he's
this,
like, "You're not singing about me anymore. What's going on?"
yeah. But the
Yeah,
way they present it is like it's like a comedy duet act on a talk show.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I thought that acting performance was very good.
yeah,
And then the other bit I liked in it was when he was singing in the courtroom, and he grabs the stool and just start fucking whacking the shit out of
yeah,
Harvey
yeah.
Dent, because that made me go, "There's the Joker." Because there's no way you can, other than listening to this before watching the movie,
Hmm.
there's no way you can predict that that's what he was going to do in his musical number. It's the first time he has violence towards someone else in a musical number. So
Yeah,
that reminded me of the Joker then seeing that moment. So those are two moments from the musical numbers that really stuck with me that I really liked.
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
than that,
Because
I kind of
they were a bit more. They said something about the character, whether it
mm,
was in the choreography or the way it was framed.
yes,
Um,
and there's the kind of reactions and performance of the actors and stuff like that. While every other time they were just kind of dancing and singing, it was like, all right, we're here. We are for Matilda or Annie. It's I don't know what they're fucking singing about.
yeah, yeah. Well, they're singing about love, right? I thought it was interesting that, like, on the steps at the end, those dreaded steps that he goes up, and I got the sense from her what she said was that it was like she was only into the whole fantasy of it. She liked the maybe you and I are gonna get together and all this, but she was fully betting on him getting killed. Actually, she was betting on him getting the chair, getting the death penalty.
Hmm.
She did not actually want to see him out, and she certainly did not want to see Arthur Fleck.
No.
She loves Joker. She wanted to bring Joker out. And she knew, like, she must have known there's no way they're going to let Joker off. But she was getting really excited anytime he was, like, acting up in court. It's like, he's obviously going to die, like. And I think I was thinking that the whole way through the movie, actually. Because this is such a grounded version of Gotham and of the character. Because I think, like, a lot of people would be like, well, if you're going to make a sequel to Joker, kind of like the whole Last of Us thing, where it's like, why is that the sequel you made? Like, there's so many other sequels you could have made, right? Like, why is it this? And I can kind of see, even if it's not the movie people want, I could kind of see Todd Phillips' reasoning of, he shot someone on live television. He's arrested. They're obviously going to try and give him the chair. Like, how am I going to write him out of this? I need to try and think about how I'm going to do it, but ultimately, I like. First of all, I don't know how they haven't killed the Joker in the comics. Like, like, how the fuck is he still walking? After all the horrible shit he's done. But look, that's like a fantasy world. But he's trying to ground it in like reality. Like, if this guy really existed, and there's no question of a doubt that he did it. Like, everyone knows he did it. So now it's just like the only plea you can make is the insanity plea.
Yeah.
And then you have Harley Quinn kind of being the spanner in the works, kind of throwing that off. Like, had she not interfered at all, I actually believe that his lawyer would have got him off.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Absolutely.
she was doing a really good job. Like, even when she was
Yes.
cross addressing the doctor guy and saying, you only spent like 89 minutes with him. Did you ask about this? Did you do this with him? Did you check that out? And he started like shaking, realizing he didn't actually fully do his job and that he's just drawing conclusions. Yeah, I suppose a lot of people probably don't like court dramas, but I really enjoyed all the courtroom stuff.
Mm. Yeah. No, like she was great, and Harley was definitely throwing in the works, and she was definitely only in love with the Joker. I don't know if she definitely wanted him to get the chair, but she definitely didn't want Arthur Fleck.
Yeah,
That was very clear by the end of the movie when he said that it's just me, there's no one else. That her whole world shattered around her because that's not entertaining to her.
yeah, and he wanted, and then he wanted her to stop singing.
Hmm.
Which if I felt like the audience at that point was like, just fucking stop fucking singing, will you? Shut the fuck up. But she, yeah, she's like, I'm still in like the fantasy of this kind of this shared thing we were talking about. But
Yeah, which do it makes Harley Quinn, Harleen Quinzel, slightly more believable in how she falls in love with the Joker.
right,
Because in the comics, she's a psychiatrist who somehow falls for this absolute deranged clown maniac, which is like, what? But in
hmm,
this, it's like, yeah, she's crazy herself, but she's in love with the fantasy, which again, that's also what reminded me of Ted Bundy. Is because
okay.
he actually got like love. I think he got like love letters off
Oh,
people.
really?
I think
Wow,
so. I think he got well loved, even though
he did terrible things.
he did horrible things. He was fucking psychopath. But like, so that kind of reminded me of that, as well as then you had the protesters outside the courtroom who were like free Joker.
Yeah, Joker at this point has become an idea rather
Yes.
than a person, and and that becomes part of the point of the movie too, actually. And it's wrestling with uh is Arthur Arthur or is he the Joker? And ultimately, the answer to that question is maybe one the audience didn't want. The movie says no, he's Arthur.
Hmm.
Joker is something that has been built up around him, and has also it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and has now been embodied by a totally different person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let not to jump around too much, but I think a lot of people are going to talk about the ending of this movie. I think a lot of people are not going to like the ending of this movie. What did you think of the ending?
That's the part that I think, for me, the best part to talk about is the theorizing part, because the
Cool.
end of the movie definitely caught me off guard, for sure. Was
Mm.
not seeing that punchline.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that punchline was cut short. But
Hey.
hey, yeah. So for context of those who maybe are just watching this and have no interest in watching the movie and just kind of want to know basic gist of what happens to the movie, he gets stabbed several times
By
eh,
another inmate, yeah.
by another inmate that you see a few times throughout the movie take an interest in this character.
Yeah. He never says anything, I don't think, in the whole
No,
movie.
yeah,
There's
that's
just shots of him just looking at him
and smiling.
the
That's
whole
it.
way through. Yeah.
And so then he goes to tell him a joke. It's a terrible joke, but he stabs him, and then he just starts pissing himself laughing as Arthur Fleck is dying, and then he cuts a smile into his. You can just see in the background. It's
You see in
blurred
the
out.
background he's cutting, yeah.
He's kind of smiling to his face as he's laughing.
I've seen someone reviewing it saying that oh, the movie ends with it's Heath Ledger's Joker kills, and I'm like, no, it's not.
No, no, it's not.
It's just another guy does the same. It's the same scarring,
Yeah.
but it's not supposed. This is not like oh, it ends with the origins of how Heath Ledger's Joker got his scars.
No, because that guy is about the same age as Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight,
Yeah, yeah, and
give or
also it's
take.
not the
Like,
same continuity whatsoever because in Joker 1, Bruce Wayne's parents die completely differently to how they died. I mean, not completely differently. Obviously, it's the alleyway, but it's a completely different person.
at a
So
different time, I
yeah,
think.
I did a different Gotham. So no, that theory is not true. But
No,
the theory of
it's
that
it's an
being
homage to that.
hmm,
I'd say more so.
the theory of that being the person who becomes the Joker,
Hmm.
I think that's exactly what the movie is saying.
Yes. So that becomes Batman's Joker,
Yeah, this guy
which then
becomes
is the
like
next part.
this guy is a fucking lunatic. I
This
think.
guy is way more crazy.
Well, I think the thing is that they didn't give you his backstory. We
No,
don't know this guy's name. We
no.
can't. We've too much empathy now for Arthur. We've too much. He had a really tough life, and if only things were different, and oh god, people keep beating him down, and he
Hmm.
can't help some of his behaviors and all this kind of stuff. Right? He's too empathetic to later on be the mastermind who's just because even like the kills in the first one were, although not justified, they were passion kills, if you know what I mean. They were either out of revenge or a feeling of like defenselessness when he's on the train and he kills
Hmm.
the guys who are kicking him and stuff like that. Like there, none of them are kills for the sake of killing,
No.
which is the Joker we know. So you would wonder, like, oh, does Arthur Fleck ever become the Joker who's like, I've got a bomb and I'm gonna blow up a train unless you stop me, Batman? Ha ha ha. So you need a character who you can't understand to do that,
Yes.
which was always the hesitancy of why are they making a Joker movie at all? We're not supposed to understand the Joker. So much like Todd Phillips had always said, the Joker IP thing was really just to get people to see this
The
character
movie.
study movie that he wanted to make. But I think it was a good idea personally, even though people maybe would have liked a third Arthur Fleck movie, but it's not going to happen. I think it was a good idea that he does not necessarily become Batman's Joker.
Hmm. And I think that's another. That's also a Joker that Harley Quinn can fall in love with as well.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. The idea will live on kind of thing. And it was
Yeah.
the idea has been inspired by
Arthur Fleck.
Arthur Fleck, but he himself will not be the Joker. The Joker has now become this other thing, this other entity. And there's elements of that in the comics. Like there was a storyline where they did like the three Jokers thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're like, one of them is the psychopath, one of them is the comedian. Like so. There's elements of like they're playing with things that it's not like a completely wild idea. Like that kind of thing has been done in the comics before.
Hmm.
That does kind of work. Um, would you have liked a third Arthur Fleck movie, or like, do you find the ending disappointing in that way, or
No, actually, I quite like the ending. It catches off guard, and then it sets up that there's our Joker. So Arthur Fleck is a Joker, and then the other guy is our Joker.
right? Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because as you stated, we don't know his name. We don't know why he's in there. He's fucking psychotic out of it for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and then yeah, like this just so I actually quite like the ending. I think the ending is a good payoff, and the shot of just zooming in on. Like I was almost half expecting a smile to come on his face. I was like, is he
you're
smiling? Is he
nearly
not?
waiting for it. Yeah, and it doesn't
Yeah.
actually happen. But yeah,
No, so I thought I had to keep his eyes open for that long. Fair play.
they
I
were
don't know
also
how actors do that.
they were also successful in making me feel bad for him.
Mm.
Even after anything that he had done or anything like that, I felt bad for Arthur, which is part of the point of the first movie too, where they had you
Yeah.
empathize with a character who does things that you would not agree with in any
Yes.
way, shape, or form, but you still feel bad for them. It was quite a difficult balance, I think, in the first movie, and by the end of this movie, I still was like, oh man, like, and I was really, I actually thought like it was a really good red herring where like there's someone here to see you.
Mm.
I had a load of theories going on in my head as he was walking up that hall as to who it's going to be because I was like, I don't think it's going to be Harley.
No, no, no.
Right? Maybe that's who you're expecting. So therefore, I was like, this is where the twist is going to come in. Maybe it's fucking young Bruce Wayne or something. And you're just, I don't know I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be someone. And then this guy just kind of quickly said, yeah, sure, you could tell me a joke. And I kind of thought that was going to be just a small interaction. So it completely caught me off guard
Yeah.
when he started. Like it worked because I was still focused on the who's out there,
Hmm.
and we'll never know now.
Yeah. I was actually half expecting your man to tell the joke from the killing joke.
Yeah, for a moment, I nearly thought that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Speaking of which, there's a couple of bits in the movie that actually made me laugh. Like,
Yes.
there's a
And
couple of
actually
really funny parts. Like,
there was a person in front of us
yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
actually at one point couldn't stop laughing. Which
yeah,
made it even funnier.
yeah. In particular, I think the scene with Gary. I don't know the name of the actor.
Gary
Um,
Puddles, yeah, yeah. He was in the first movie. He's the
he's a little dude,
yeah, yeah.
and his scene is absolutely captivating. He
Hmm.
is fucking excellent in it, and the way it's when he's pleading with Arthur and basically saying, "You were the only one that was ever nice to me."
Hmm.
And he seemed shattered by it because like the one person who was nice to me turned out to be this horrible killer.
Hmm.
And in that moment, you kind of realize like he has lost faith in the world when Arthur did what he did. Like that's
Yeah.
what that did to him. That's how traumatized he is. But yeah, when he walked in and Arthur goes, "Go get him, Gary." And I was like, he's about to take the stand against him. Like, I thought the way he delivered it was so funny because it was also very sincere. Like he really meant it. He was actually
Yeah.
like kind of rooting for Gary. Like you go get him, Gary. I thought it was so fucking funny.
Yeah, he's nuts guy. But yeah, that was a great scene because even Arthur's performance, Joaquin's performance, but he kind of kept turning to the jury like, huh, really? This guy? Like, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't this all so ridiculous?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, his performance throughout is just. I think that's what made the movie entertaining. I mean, if you had a bad lead in this movie, yeah, the movie would fall apart. Like,
Mm.
it's a character piece more than anything else. It's not trying to. There's no big grand like overarching plot of Gotham or anything like that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
don't expect some big grandiose fight at the end where they have to save Gotham or some shit. It's not happening.
let me tell you, I was I was told again. in the reviews, people are saying that the third act is wild and goes in a direction that you're not expecting. I suppose they actually just mean the very ending. But so when the bomb went off in the court, right? And I have that in the back of my head. People have said there's a third act to this movie that is wild and not going where I expected. When that bomb went off and there was kind of a moment of who's out there, I was like, don't tell me fucking Batman's gonna walk. It's like, even though I know like he's a kid and everything, and that can't happen. Um, it could have been another delusion scene or you know what I mean. But I had a moment where I was like, no, no, this can't be what people meant. Is it gonna get fucking weird now all of a sudden? Like, is it gonna be like a big musical number of him fighting like a bat person or something or like? So I did not think the third act was wild in any way. I thought it was actually quite a fitting ending to the story that they told in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting that ending. I wasn't
No, yeah,
expecting a fucking bomb to go off at the courtroom. I was expecting probably more riots, but it's a very grounded, it's very believable. His ears are ringing. He's walking out disheveled and confused.
that's all
And
shot
then
very well as well.
that's shot so well. It's all done in one take. It's amazing. And then a couple of fans find him and put him in their car to drive him off to take him away.
Yeah, and
There
again,
is nothing fucking confused about that.
no, there's nothing wild about it either. It's very
Oh,
clear because they want him to be the Joker, and he doesn't want
yeah.
to be the Joker. He kind of makes that confession at the end that he does not actually want to be that person.
Hmm.
And because he doesn't want to be what the fans want him to be, the
Yeah.
fans kill him.
Hmm.
Basically, that's sort of where it goes. Um, but also does a good job of highlighting that it's like we need to hold a lot of that the whole thing, the conversation of the first movie, and this is where I thought that they were kind of actually putting the first movie on trial a little bit with the actual trial. Um, like the controversies of the first movie was that some people felt it was glorifying Arthur Fleck's actions,
Right.
right? I never felt it was, but some people did because
Right.
he's the protagonist of the movie. Um, so the second movie was very much like we need to like point out that all those things he did were bad. We need to point out that all of his fans are bad. Like the people who
Hmm.
want what he did are
Yeah.
they're not okay people. And then we need him maybe at the end to actually apologize for what he did. We need to show remorse. So it felt to me like the movie was nearly a response to say, no, 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 no. That is not the point of the first movie was not to be like, yeah, Joker, go kill them. Like that was whoa, okay. I need to write like a no. This was not okay. He did bad things, but he was troubled and it's complicated. It's supposed to be a more complicated movie rather than a straightforward. Yeah, go get him, Joker. Like, you know. So that's what I kind of got from the second movie as a whole. I also quite like this scene with the doctor guy who was doing the whole I don't think he's insane at all thing.
Hmm.
I was kind of captivated by that sequence because, first of all, the acting was good there, but they were having a conversation in court that all fans have had about the Joker for years. They did the
About like
they did the whole is Joker even insane or is he faking it?
well, I suppose that comes down really to an element that you need to know what defines true insanity.
Oh no, I know, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because there's no way you could say the Joker is sane. 100%.
Right.
I would say he is absolutely 100% aware that everything he is doing is wrong.
Right.
Absolutely. He just doesn't give a shit.
But that's the debate that people have had for years. Is he delusional? Does he have a personality disorder? Is he completely aware of his actions? Like and that's what they mean by sane.
Mm.
Sane being like, yeah, because obviously people will say, man, that guy's insane for the shit he does. But in non-layman's terms, like sane being he's actually fully aware of his actions. He knows they're wrong and does them anyway.
So kind of, I suppose, like your standard criminal. They're
Right.
aware of what they're doing is wrong, and they don't go to an asylum. They go to prison.
Yeah. So that's always the argument about the Joker is like, what is his actual mental health condition? Clearly, he's got mental health issues.
For
But
sure.
what is, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I thought that conversation, although brief in the movie, was really interesting, and therefore, like, and it was very clear that the whole movie was a character study of the dual personality of this character now, and which one is he really, and which one's going to win out. And he won out, but as a result, actually, the Joker identity won because it has taken over other people. Really, it has like spread, it has become infectious, in an ideological sense. So that's kind of, and it could be even that like they could even be implying that even this dude that cut his face at the end, maybe he's not Batman's Joker. Maybe someone else will kill him, and like
Take on the identity again.
who knows how long that's going to go on for. But basically, what they're saying is Joker has now gone beyond Arthur Fleck and has become an idea of violence for violence sake, almost, rather than like, because even when he's on the talk show, like they were all trying to put it to him, like, so you're trying to start a movement, is that what it is? Like, you have a problem against the big man? And he was like, no, I that's not why I killed those guys at all. But that's what everyone else thinks. Everyone else is like, yeah, stick it to the man, go on, Joker, So it's more like they've manifested what they want Joker to be.
Rather than what he actually is. Yeah.
But yeah.
I actually, I so thought, because I was just, I was thinking about that scene where you were talking about, is Joker going to win or Arthur Fleck going to win? And there's that bit when he is dragged into the asylum by Brendan Gleeson and his buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Stripped and washed and cleaned in a slightly more aggressive manner than probably usual. And then thrown into the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kill his friend Rick.
Mm-hmm.
And I so thought, right, he's going to get back at Brendan Gleeson. I did think that through the whole movie. Through the whole movie, I thought he's going to snap and kill that guy.
Yeah, I did think that too. I was like, there's no way this guy's going to make it.
Yeah.
I was really surprised, actually, that...
Well, it yet again shows the problem with Arkham Asylum is that this person who is horrible, Brendan Gleeson's character, is horrible. He has a really awful sense of humor as well. He's got quite a sick sense of humor.
Yeah.
And he survives. He lives. So he gets to keep doing what he's doing in Arkham Asylum.
Brendan Gleeson was really good in it.
He was very good in it.
His character was another, I would say, a complicated one. Where you're right. He does terrible things in the movie. And yet sometimes he's very encouraging of Arthur. So it's quite a difficult one. Like sometimes he's like,
well, like he
having a laugh with him, or he got him into the singing group and said, sure, he's been very good, hasn't he? So I'm gonna get him out for a bit. So he's looking after him. But then there's other times where he's like fucking beating the shit out of him or making a fool out of him, and it's a really complicated kind of toxic relationship of like, he's looking after him, but also only for his own amusement, maybe, and
but like you could tell that they, even not just with Fleck, they definitely treat a lot of them badly.
Yes,
but then on the other hand, they're in the E-wing, I think is what they call it, which I think is the place for the criminally insane.
Yeah.
So you are dealing with
incredibly dangerous people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I suppose when you're in that environment, it might do shit to your head. So maybe that's why he's got a... So I thought he was a very interesting character. And I thought that kind of dynamic and relationship between the guards and them was good. And then you do expect Brendan Gleeson's going to get his comeuppance, because that's the usual thing that happens in those... like Shawshank Redemption, the corrupt guards get their comeuppance at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. So watch it. Great movie. But and then you don't. He doesn't get it. Yeah. So they get to continue on
doing what they're
doing, which then emphasizes
there's still like corruption in the system in Gotham.
Yeah, and it does emphasize how bad Arkham Asylum is, because it's supposed to be fucking horrible to be in there.
I think as well, the scene that really captured Brendan Gleeson's, I can't remember the name of the character, but his relationship with Arthur Fleck the strongest, was they're walking in the hallway and you're looking at their backs. And Arthur tells a joke or something and they're both laughing, and he says, "Can I get a cigarette?" And Brendan Gleeson's character gives him a cigarette, And he's like, thanks very much. And he taps Brendan Gleeson on the back. And Brendan Gleeson's body language changes, and he full fucking smacks Arthur
on the back.
on the back. In very much a, I'm pals with you, but do not touch me. Like there is a line, don't cross it.
Yes.
Kind of a thing. And I just thought that scene was very well done in that it was almost like he's treating, it's terrible, like, but he's treating Arthur like a dog. It's like, do tricks for me and I'll give you treats, but do not bite, because I will fucking hit you so hard. Like, it was like, whoa.
It was a full force fucking, like, you.
Yeah.
It echoed through that hallway. That slap.
Yeah. So it really, I thought that summed up their relationship. That scene.
And it's a simple scene, and yet done so well and so effective.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to say, like, there's good...
Where's the 33% coming from?
There's good stuff in here. And, by no means is it the sequel everyone probably wanted. Sorry, it's not the sequel I wanted, really. But I don't know if I ever even wanted a sequel. And I also think you could just watch the first one and leave it at that. There's not a case of actually, you need to see the second one. I don't think that's the case. But if you watch the second one, I think there's enough nuance and strong performance in there to enjoy.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it doesn't feel as eventful as the first movie.
Right. It's quite like Two Towers is needed, but John Wick 2 is not. You know what I mean? It's like you can sit,
right. Yeah.
You can watch it, you can enjoy it, but it's like, it isn't as needed, and it's not as good as the first one. But there's still stuff in there that you can enjoy.
But I also completely understand if someone says they don't like it. Yes. Completely understand.
Now, 33% is very low on both accounts.
Yeah, I guess I'm surprised how many people strongly dislike it. Particularly, I would say, I'm not surprised if, like, the general audience don't like it. I'm surprised how many movie critics dislike this movie.
It's an interesting one.
I would have thought, and again, not that I never would have thought that they'd be like, oh, it's amazing. But there's a lot of artistry in this movie. There's a lot of kind of bold choices. And I just thought it would have, for some film critics, they would have been like, oh my God, it was so, I like how divisive it is. I like how bold it is. I like that they're going in this different direction, and they're kind of saying,
maybe those ones haven't seen it yet.
Fuck the expectations. Well, I mean, at this point, when you're getting down to 33% of a rating from critics, it's like most film critics who are, paid to do what they do have seen this movie. I think, because they would see it in the lead up, they would see it at the film festivals, they would see it opening weekend, but yeah, so it's just interesting, I think.
Like, if people not liking it, fair enough.
Yeah,
but yeah,
100%.
It's so universal that makes it quite interesting. I wonder if that will change over the years, because we've seen it before with some movies that did reviewed badly on like its opening weekend, and then over the years, its percentage started to rise as people started going, this is not as bad as what everyone was saying. Because some people obviously might be turned off. They might look at those reviews, might be like, oh, it's that low. Well, then I'm not going to watch it. Then they might watch it someday when it's on a streaming platform and go, the fuck were they talking about? Maybe. So it might rise over the years.
I think this movie it'll never be like a loved, like, classic or anything like that. I think it will be more appreciated in the future.
Yes.
I think it will find appreciation later.
Which, you know what, is good, because it means it has a longer lifespan than some other movies that are loved the minute they come out, but they have a short lifespan.
Well,
that's good.
I think Todd Phillips knows that. I don't think he's under any illusions. I think he knew going in that, like, people are not going to like this movie, and I think he's okay with that. I also think Joaquin Phoenix would not have agreed to do a sequel, which I don't think he's ever done a sequel before.
Maybe not. No, I don't know.
had he not thought, oh yeah, this will ruffle a few feathers. He's that kind of actor where I think he likes the idea that, oh, this is gonna fuck people off, you know what I mean? Or oh, people are gonna have a lot of conversations about this, or people are not gonna like the ending, you know? And I kind of like that. It's kind of exciting, you know?
Yeah,
And
maybe.
also, he's not doing another one, you know?
Definitely not doing another one. And you know that could have been Todd Phillips' idea as well. But like again, we don't really know.
hmm
Like, was he wanting to do a second one, or was he just commissioned for it? There's an element of it that feels like I am going to do everything in my power to make sure I don't get a third one.
Right.
uh,
Yeah. I'm in two minds about the whole obviously, like, yeah, the first one made $1 billion, so obviously Warner Brothers want a second one, right?
mm,
So I get that. But it's so interesting to me, like, I mean, they fucked a lot of DC projects by interfering.
mm,
Yeah? Like,
mm.
big time. It's so clear they did not interfere with this one. And I'm kind of shocked that they didn't. I'm
Well,
kind of surprised they watched this and went, yep, put it out. Like,
yeah, to be
I liked
honest,
it, but I'm just like, again, because they would surely be like, no, 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 what are you doing? We want a third one. Why is this the ending? And also, like, why are you doing that? And why are you doing this? And, you know, people aren't going to like that. What do you do? You know what I mean? Like, with Warner Brothers being Warner Brothers, unless since James Gunn has taken over, who is a creative director himself, and unless he was like, you do whatever the fuck you want. I want to see weird shit. You know what I mean?
possibly he might have been quite encouraging because this probably was in the works already
Yeah, yeah.
while James Gunn was taking over. So I'd imagine maybe James Gunn to be buddy buddy with his directors that are already working on projects probably was like, you do whatever you want
hmm
because he knows he has his DCU um lined up. So he's probably a bit too busy with that to kind of mm, overly handle any of the side projects like the Batman 2
Yeah,
or
yeah.
are we getting a second one
The
for the
Batman, yeah,
Batman 2? Oh,
yeah,
nice. So
yeah, yeah.
like he's probably
Every
not handling that much, or the Penguin show. He's probably not handling that much either. You know, probably
no,
just a
yeah,
bit.
true. Because they're Elseworlds kind of stories.
They're
I
elsewhere. So
I actually every week I get a different like I see a thumbnail or something about oh, Matt Reeves wants such and such to be the villain in the Batman 2, and it's clearly just people you know, they found maybe a line somewhere where Matt Reeves went, I like that villain, you know, which he probably likes about all the villains, and then people go, oh, he wants this one. Like I've seen it, I've seen like Court of Owls, Mr. Freeze, Clayface, Hush, like loads of them where I'm like, well, like they're not all gonna be, but yeah, it would be cool. Like Hush,
Hush, yeah, hush. Might not be
Hush,
too bad.
Hush could be a natural follow-on given some of the stuff that happened in the
Mm,
Batman. It does a Hush
yeah,
reference in there. Didn't they say
yeah,
about something about an Elliot who was a journalist that they got killed?
I think so.
And Riddler actually puts Hush up on the screen. Like they could follow that on. Absolutely, there's loads of characters though that they could do. Like so, I
I think as well if the guy I'd like Matt Reeves to stay away from the. I know everyone will obviously wait for the Joker, but I do want him to stay away from obvious. Like, so I'd love to see Hush, Doctor Strange,
mm,
the ones that work within that version of Gotham.
absolutely. I do think one of the only other ones that has been done before by Nolan that I think would work in a Matt Reeves Batman universe is I do think it'd be cool to get his take on Scarecrow,
Mm.
just because of how dark the first Batman was and how scary he made the Riddler.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, he could do nearly a full horror movie with Scarecrow.
And I will nope right out of
But do you know what I mean? Like
that.
that could be really really cool. But still grounded in reality because it's all just psychotropic drugs. Like it's the
Mm.
stuff you're seeing. It's not supernatural. It's just
Well, that's probably one of the things the why. Like, I wouldn't have done a Joker 2 movie if I was going to
I
do.
probably wouldn't either. No,
I probably would have gotten another Batman villain and do a study. Like
I know
maybe
what you mean.
like could have been in the same universe. And again, I'm going to put his name out there again. Actually, Jonathan Crane, but doing really messed up like experiments in. So it's that kind of grounded
But if you
shit that you could
open
do with the
that
films.
box, would you not be worried about how many of them they start making and it just starts diluting the whole thing?
True. Yes. Yeah. No.
Where it's
That
like
is true.
Joker is such a fantastic movie because it's kind of a one of a kind.
Mm.
And because I do remember there was talks of doing that with like characters like Riddler and stuff, and it was like, and obviously it wouldn't be Todd Phillips because he's done his thing, and he has come out and said his DC run is done. He has no intentions of doing more DC stuff.
Right.
So, which is probably he probably shouldn't say that in interviews because that probably spoils in some ways Folie do. I mean, people could draw very quick conclusions as to what that means.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I just think it would just become almost like a MCU but for villains, you know, like where they just get another director to make another movie about another, you know.
Villain.
It could be great, but like how far does it go and you just start milking it and it's just get exhausting where it's like, oh great, here we go. Mr. Freeze, I suppose his life sucked as well. Like
Well,
it's all just all their lives suck.
well, no, it would depend on how you handle it, I suppose.
Of
I
course.
think my approach with with Scarecrow would have been more. It's a like maybe Saw or something. Like it's
Oh
about
right,
him.
okay.
It's about him.
But he's not the protagonist.
He's not the
maybe.
protagonist though, because he's doing weird, messed up shit in Arkham Asylum, and detectives are trying to prove that he is.
Hmm.
So that concept. But then again, you know, we've had that with Saw. We've had that shit. So but I'm spitballing ideas here.
Sure, yeah.
I'm just saying DC. You know, just come to me, like, you know.
Absolutely.
I got some ideas up here. Huh?
Any final thoughts on Joker Folie à Deux before we wrap up this week's episode?
No, I think I said everything.
I'm curious. I think more interesting than watching the movie is going to be the conversations about the movie. I think the people who made the movie will probably agree. I think they actually want that, actually. I think whatever about the ratings and stuff, people will probably talk about this one more than they talked about the first one, even though people love the first one more.
Well, that gives it more life, though, so that's good.
And with that being said, we would love to hear from you guys. If you're watching YouTube, jump down in the comments, share your thoughts on Joker Folie à Deux, tell us why we're wrong, that it is really that bad, and tell us why it's so bad. Or if you found you kind of agree with us and that it's not as bad as people are saying and there's quite a lot to like in the movie, actually, let us know why you think that. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content. And to those of you listening on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on Joker 2. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode, and we will be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.